Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Pac-Man World Re-Pac. We're in the final part, so we have one last level and one last boss.
Thank you, Ryan. What's up with me?
All right, what incredibly irrelevant tangent can I go on today? We've already covered Western RPGs, Zelda and art style aesthetic. Mario and Luigi, how have we gone so long without talking about that?
I'm so excited that it's coming back. That's my RPG of choice from the Mario
I'm looking
series.
to return to the series because I did not finish Dream Team on the 3DS, and Paper Jam did not hold my interest for very long.
Did you get Paper Jam and just
Yes.
not finish it? Okay.
I just didn't finish it. I didn't even play much
I
of
didn't
it.
get Paper Jam at all. So Paper Jam was announced during the same E3 as Metroid Prime Federation Force and Animal Crossing, what? Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival. So, not Nintendo's best E3. With that said, people were mad at Animal Crossing and mad at Metroid Prime Federation Force, where Metroid Prime actually seemed interesting to me at that time, but I was mad at Mario and Luigi because it just was oh, Paper Mario doesn't even get to have its own games anymore. It's just
You see,
in this other franchise.
the irony there is that you were mad at Mario and Luigi for the same reason Metroid Prime fans were mad at Federation Force.
Yeah, except Federation Force is actually a good game, and people don't want to admit that because
I wouldn't say good. It's fine, but
I think that game is good.
I'd say it's good. It's good multiplayer. It's there solo.
Yeah, I mean, but again, if you were to play a game like Left 4 Dead, that's not particularly interesting single player either. It's part of one of the pitfalls of that kind of genre.
The problem is
agree.
Left 4 Dead is Left 4 Dead, and Metroid Prime is Metroid Prime. So what they've essentially done is create a Left 4 Dead game with the Metroid Prime label on it, and that's not going to please anyone.
Yeah, that was basically the point entirely, is that nobody was going to give that game a fair shake because of its branding. They just should have made an original IP.
People would have given it a fair shake if there had been a main series Metroid Prime.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't even think it was a matter of the genre it was in or what it was supposed to be. It was just because there was no mainline Metroid game for years afterwards, and the last one was Other M.
Didn't the Metroid 2 remake came out a year or two after, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So they had, I think I remember saying at the time, that they had swapped the release dates of those two games. People would not.
Nobody
have,
would bitch. At all.
Speaking of which, they're finally giving us some stuff about Metroid Prime 4. Hallelujah.
I mean, I can't believe that game is actually real. It's one of those things.
It looks
that just
good.
Feels. It looks good. It certainly looks like a Metroid Prime game.
Yeah. That's about all we can tell at this point, but it looks good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess
Definitely coming out that game is also getting a double release, right? It's coming out for the Switch successor and the Switch.
I think there's no chance it's a Switch-only game.
One thing that I like about the look of the Metroid Prime footage we've seen, though, and this is kind of a subtle thing, but it looks a lot more like Metroid Prime than Metroid Dread, stylistically. They managed to keep the general look and feel of the Metroid Prime games mostly intact, rather than replicating Metroid Dread's, really smooth, modern.
Well, it's also different devs, to be fair, because Dread was Mercury's team and this is Metro Studios.
Well, yeah, I know, but part of me kind of dreaded that they'd try to capture the same sort of visual and animation style that the modern 2D Metroid games are using, which is very sleek.
The Metroid Dread has I like to think of it as a very comic book kind of style. It's very exaggerated and over the top. Metroid Prime has always been more low-key and subdued. So I do agree in that it would definitely feel weird to kind of try to mix and match that. I mean, you certainly could make it work, but it definitely, I think Metroid Prime 4 is probably not the kind of game where you want to experiment a ton with. Obviously there should be new things, but it's one of those.
It's
Okay,
a
Ryan.
series that's been gone for a while. We want to nail the basics before we get too experimental. Yeah.
Yeah, this is what I like to refer to as the nuts and bolts effect, where when your series has been gone for a long time and people are desperately clamoring for a return, that's not when you get wild and wacky. You get wild and wacky when, you've had 3 games in 5 years and, you want to shake things up.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I think in retrospect, the only reason why we got a Prime remaster in the first place was Retro Studios was just refamiliarizing themselves with the franchise.
Yeah.
honestly,
Probably, yeah.
the Prime remaster also, looks gorgeous. So
Yes, it does.
It's not surprising to me that Metroid Prime 4 also looks very good, visually speaking.
Speaking of, how did we get that for $40, but we're getting Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon HD for $60, and that has no visual improvements.
That is a very good question.
I don't understand why we're getting Dark Moon remastered, period, to be perfectly honest.
The answer is Wario. Wario did it.
What do you mean?
I mean, it's a tiny, low-effort project being sold at way too high a price. So Wario. did it.
WarioWare. Okay, I thought you were
Gotcha.
okay,
Okay. Oh, I get it. I thought
in universe, something Wario would do.
Yes.
Yeah, it is-
I was making
Okay.
fun of Nintendo. Yes.
Okay, you see, I thought you were talking about they did that for a Wario project, and I'm like,
They literally fucking have a game franchise about an evil game developer who makes tiny games for pure profit, and they go and do the same shit themselves. It's like, self-awareness does not give you a green light to keep doing it. Stop doing it. Please.
with that said, Nintendo Wario Land game, that would be nice. Thank you.
I mean, it is nice at least that we are getting a Dark Moon re-release of some kind, but it would be nice if it were a higher effort version.
I mean, Dark Moon is not. I mean, maybe playing it with a full controller and not with the 3DS's weird. I remember the control concessions they had to make for Dark Moon were definitely kind of weird.
I'll
so,
just settle for being able to play it without hand cramps, thank you.
yeah. The thing is that a lot of Dark Moon's issues were also structural. Like, I didn't really like the mission structure and the multiple mansions just didn't really do much for me personally.
Yeah, we went over a lot of this when we did the Luigi's Mansion 3 commentary, but that game solved a lot of the problems, although not necessarily all of them.
Yeah, it's definitely much better than Dark Moon. I think Luigi's Mansion 3 is a very good game. I think that the big thing that I would want them to do is to... Luigi's Mansion 3 is very level by level. Okay, we've got this floor and this floor and this floor, and they're all really well made. And it feels a lot better than what they did in Dark Moon, where it's just okay, we've got 5 levels, and we're gonna yank you out of them at different times, and it feels kind of disjointed. I would still like it if they brought back the structure of the original Luigi's Mansion and made it so that, okay, you feel like you're exploring one big place as opposed to I'm going from level to level.
I'd like to see them do that too, although if they did that again, they'd have to seriously amp up the exploration of it, because for as cool as the setting feel of Luigi's Mansion 1 is, it is a very linear mansion.
Yeah. That is true. Trying to build in some non-linearity to it would help. You probably would have to lead into Metroid Castlevania style elements in order to make that work, though, because the only thing that really blocks progression in Luigi's Mansion 1 is keys. It's just okay, I get this key.
Or, Resident Evil elements. Since it's a horror game in a mansion. Just saying?
Resident Evil zombies. This is ghosts.
Well, Fatal Frame, then. Okay?
Well, no, I'm more saying, in terms of gameplay, again, and you're the Resident Evil guy. I've only played a little bit of them. In Resident Evil, when you go to a place and you get to whatever room you're supposed to get to, you find either a key or some random item that functionally works as a key, and that takes you to the next area, where you then find another key or item that functionally works as a key.
Well, it depends. It depends
so
a little. It depends a little on which specific entry you're talking about. But the first Resident Evil gave you a good number of different directions that you could go to get specific keys in different orders, which would open up different parts of the mansion in different orders. It actually has a weird funnel effect toward the back half, where it gets gradually more linear the further you go, because eventually you leave the mansion and then you go to the other areas outside of the mansion, which feel very sectioned off. And I could explain this better, but that would take a long time. And Gaming Brit already did that, so go watch Road to the Rocket Launcher. He explains it perfectly. But later
that does make sense, though, when you say it's just like, okay, you need to find 3 keys to get through this door, and then you can find them in whatever order you want. Definitely does allow for more exploration than, okay, I need key A to get to key B to get to key C, and so on and so forth.
The PS1 original actually gave you even more flexibility if you played as Jill, because her lockpick just lets you unlock all the sword key doors from the start. So, yeah. The only, like, problem-ish with that design is that it's pretty intimidating at the start of the game. So, you know...
Which works when you're doing a pure horror game like Resident Evil. Like, that's fine. If you're doing a game like Luigi's Mansion, which is horror-themed, but definitely not aimed to be actually scary, you want it to be a little bit more forgiving.
At the same time, it does kind of... Oh, 2 peaches and a bell. I don't get it. All I'm saying, though, is that it kind of makes sense that Resident Evil 2 went a little bit more railroady in its design. So...
Don't the games all get progressively more linear as you...
Oh, yeah, but what I mean is that Resident Evil 2 was pretty linear from the start. It just pretended not to be.
I would still argue that made the game better for it, though.
I mean, it made it a lot easier to get into.
Yeah.
I would say it sacrificed some of the replay value in the process, though.
You think so?
Yeah.
It depends, because there's definitely plenty of very linear games that I have no problem replaying. Like, if you just want that experience again, I don't mind replaying a linear
Well, I mean, a linear game, that's one thing. But a linear game based around exploring the same environment to get the same keys in roughly the same order gets kind of old after a while. Especially when the structure and all of the unlockables are designed around speedrunning. It's more interesting to speedrun when you have to figure out which direction to speedrun in. Hello.
Pac-Man's just like, what the fuck is this shit?
Pac-Man, wow, Sugoi.
What ends here? What ends now? I've never seen you before. Who are you?
Wait, so hold on, wait, one was like, because I know, like, we've been paying attention to the story pretty thoroughly, I'm aware. But why were the ghosts enamored with the actual Pac-Man? Like,
because the reason why they're all here is to watch, like, this party is where you can meet the real Pac-Man, which is definitely Talkman. So, like,
but like, aren't the ghosts Pac-Man's enemy? Like,
listen, I don't fucking know what's going on. All right. It's like, imagine you're at a birthday party, all right, and they said, "Wow, the real Krusty the Clown's gonna be here," and then you see a fake ass Krusty the Clown, and then the real ass Krusty the Clown is gonna be there out of the back door.
If I remember right, this game was going for something of a Sonic Generations sort of plot, where it's their birthday, and everyone gets kidnapped during their birthday. So
Yep, pretty much.
Yeah. Only the final boss is much better in this version, and in the original.
So I believe an element of this game that changed is that in the original you had to save all your shitty friends. And in this one, you don't have to save all your shitty friends, but they will help you by giving you power-ups along the way.
Pac-Man cares a lot less about his second set of wife and children than his first, confirmed.
Sadly, realistic element of the Pac-Man storyline, unfortunately.
No, the kids are not worried about it. That's 2 birthdays and 2 Christmases.
Yeah, but what about the lasting mental damage of growing up in a broken home?
Gift cards. Everybody loves gift cards.
So one thing I do love about this boss fight, though, is that he uses the same power-ups you do. Like, I always love when they do that kind of stuff in these, like, alter ego kind of fights.
From what I remember, the final boss of the original game was a lot different than this one, though.
I believe they changed it a lot because there's apparently the original version of the fight was considered too hard, but I haven't played that version, so I can't speak out of experience.
I'm not
just going off of what I've heard.
I'm not sure if it was considered difficult because it was difficult or difficult because it was jank, like that other boss we mentioned. I wouldn't be surprised if it was difficult because it was jank, though. What? Did he just...
He put 2 power pellets together and then made an even bigger pellet.
That's not how that works. Damn it, Talkman.
How does it work?
Talkman, you're cheating.
I mean, if I take one bottle of chocolate milk and another bottle of chocolate milk and put them together, I'm pretty sure I have one really, really big bottle of chocolate milk.
You can't fault Talkman for trying something that Pac-Man never even considered. For as far as we're aware, it always worked that way, and Pac-Man's just fucking stupid.
I mean, look at that face. I'm not surprised if Pac-Man's stupid.
Look, at some point when you're playing Pac-Man, because you need to devour all the power pellets to finish the maze, you're going to eat a power pellet while you're already charged up by a power pellet.
Yeah.
Pac-Man...
But at that point, you've already consumed and are currently digesting the first power pellet, so there's nothing really left to combine with the other power pellet you just consumed.
What does Pac-Man digest and shit everything out in 20 seconds flat?
No, he just
they're
has super
yellow
metabolism and
ping-pong
burns
balls.
right. That's why the power pellet's temporary, because a super fucking high metabolism burns through that shit really fucking fast.
Why do you think this
Yeah,
guy
that's what
needs
I
to
said.
eat 250 power pellets every 2 minutes, man? All right. This is part of the Pac-Man horror game lore, and is that his hunger is so all-devouring, that he can't experience any joy. Which is why his wife left him.
Can we just appreciate that if you're able to bounce off of his shoes over and over again, you can just avoid the shockwaves from his shoes?
Yeah, it's your favorite video game attack, Lewis.
Bouncing
And
on
Talkman is down.
bouncing on shoes?
No, the giant boss shockwave.
Oh.
I love that face.
Fuck.
Don't worry, Pac-Man's fine.
You combine 2 power pellets, I only need 1, because I'm that badass.
I thought he was gonna like slam dunk it into his mouth for some reason. Get forward, idiot.
I was expecting some sort of Space Jam mega dunk or whatever.
No, all right, come on. I know this is like a game for kids, likely, but his head should be chopped in half. Pac-Man bit down on that fucker.
Well, now it is.
Casper?
It was the gray ghost all along. And not the fun gray ghost from Batman, but the depressing gray ghost from Pac-Man.
I missed the end. I missed the original ending where Pac-Man's a huge jerk ass here and just eats a power pellet and eats the ghost.
Yeah, and this one, they're friends.
I think the ending might be different depending on whether you've rescued your friends.
I wouldn't be surprised, but I found them all.
Disgruntled Pac-Man with the 5 o'clock shadow just says, fuck you, I don't care.
Pac-Man actually, he the funny thing in the original ending isn't just that he eats a power pellet and then devours the ghost like a cold motherfucker. It's that he smiles while he does it.
Listen, that asshole kidnapped his family, all right? Like, taking joy out of that, I'm not that surprised,
Yeah.
Okay, it's not, I think, even just that. There's, like, that they replaced Miss Pac-Man. The design for Pac-Mom, or whatever her name is, it's just not good. Like,
because they couldn't give her the thing that kind of just takes me out of it is that she has eyes.
yeah.
Like, her eyes are just not pupils. Like, she has actual eyes and just sticks out as a result.
I mean, I don't mind those eyes on the ghosts. The ghosts, they're fine, but I don't like them on her.
The thing is, they wanted to go for the same vibe as the original arcade cabinet, Miss Pac-Man, right? But they had to do it without using any of the elements from the original Miss Pac-Man. So they went for adjacent, similarly stereotypical pinup art artwork aspects. So instead of the bow, you get the fancy hat. You still get eyelashes, but it has to be a different eye design. You still get the legs, because arcade cabinet Miss Pac-Man had the legs.
I find it uncomfortable how much that arcade art wants you to have sex with Miss Pac-Man. By the way, like, I'm good, thanks.
But, like, my point is they just sort of, like, went through all of the individual elements that made up Miss Pac-Man's design, and with each individual one, they asked themselves, what's a legally distinct thing that achieves the same effect? And then they pasted it on.
That's what I was going to ask, because I keep thinking about the name Pac-Man, and the original name was Miss Pac-Man. Do you think, for legal reasons, Mrs. Pac-Man would still be too derivative?
They might have called her Mrs. Pac-Man in some things.
It's Ms. Pac-Man, which is the... I don't know if you're married or not, so I'm just going to slur my
well, I mean, clearly she is, though, to Pac-Man, like, in this continuity.
Well,
so
when they called her Ms. Pac-Man originally, I don't think she was necessarily conceptualized as Pac-Man's wife. I think she was
just Girl Pac-Man. Yeah.
Just Girl Pac-Man, yeah. So that was her name, but I don't think they would have been able to use either of the other honorifics, because they're both very close to Ms. Pac-Man, because Ms. is a non-distinct middle ground between the two. So no, they wouldn't have been able to use that, or at least their lawyers would heavily have advised them against using that because it's so close.
I mean, but I think that Namco still owns the Miss Pac-Man character. I think the issues are all with the original arcade game.
Yes, but as you noted, they lost the contract, so they cannot confirm that. Yeah. So the possibility is still open that the original creators would make the claim.
Listen, can't Namco just write them a large enough check to be like, let us please use our good design? And
that
be like, sure.
would be the smart thing to do, but as we all know, large multi-million-dollar corporations never do the smart thing if it costs them money.
It probably costs them more money to keep on workshopping new Miss Pac-Mans, though, because they've done at least like 2 or 3.
It also probably costs Walmart more money to do all that union busting shit they do, but they still do it. That's how companies work. They get so attached to their money that they forget they can save money by spending money. It's weird.
Wow.
Anyway, that was Pac-Man World. Good game. They took my wife. Why?
Give it back.
It? What?